Hello, horror fans. It's me, Cassandra, and I have on a special guest host tonight. You may or may not recognize him because he is one of my co workers on Talking Tapes, but we have Brewster on. How are you, Brewster?
Hey, Cass, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing good. So, we were just together for Cinema Wasteland, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was a
Uh,
blessing and a half.
Yeah, it was a blast. We got to see Michael Berryman and Felissa Rose, Brett Wagner. There was just a bunch of people there. Super cool. And yeah, it was a fun experience. But tonight we get to talk about one of both of our favorite subjects. You for full moon, well, and vampires too, but then me for vampires. So if you did
My-
not know, Brewster is the resident know it all. Like
Oh,
if
no, no,
I
no.
ever am on what was it? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you have the
Mhm.
questions to phone a friend. If it's ever a full moon question, I'm phoning Brewster.
I just got pigeonholed on your show in front of everybody, Cass. What the hell?
I mean, you can't say that you don't know everything though, because you do. Like,
No, well, you know what? We did meet a guy at the Church of Chills the night before Cinema Wasteland who I think topped me, but we'll talk about that later.
that I didn't know that was possible, but okay. Okay. So the movie that we're talking about is Subspecies, which I think a lot of people forget about Subspecies and the impact it had with vampires, especially vampires in the 90s. And Brewster brought up a really good point when we were kind of talking about this that I'll kind of come back to. But this is the first of its kind. Full Moon kind of started doing this before a lot of others, where they kind of wove like their own cinematic universe in with each other. And this is a prime example of that and weaving all the movies together. So it's got iconic people. I did not realize until today that the actor that plays the tall man in the Phantasm series is actually the dad in the first one. That was news to me. It completely blew my childhood apart that I didn't know that. So, but this is going to be a fun episode. So sit back, relax, and if you have not watched Subspecies, all of them are currently streaming on TUBI. So please stop, go watch them, and come back and listen to Brewster and I just talk our shit. So, but we are going to go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and cue the music.
Welcome to the Horrorcraft Podcast.
All right, we are back. So,
Jamming out to the music there. Sorry.
we all, I need to start taking videos of how many times all of us are jamming out to the intro. Thank you, TIKI, for doing the intro. We love you forever for that. Especially, again, you included the Hex Girl, so that just made my whole entire life. Um, but, but yeah, that we love the intro. But so, Full Moon, a lot of people either know the full extent of Full Moon Pictures and the different movies that they've put out, or they don't realize that Full Moon is behind a lot of iconic horror movies. So if you do not know, Full Moon is responsible for the Ginger Dead Man, the Evil Bong series, Puppet Master, the Subspecies. I'm obscure though. I like this movie called Meridian, Kiss of the Dark Beast. I for some reason that just to me was always like I think I have problems, but it just for some reason I was like, this is a good movie.
I'm not gonna lie, I have not seen that one since I was a little kid. Well, not little kid, but you know what I mean, old enough to be watching that one because I do remember it being pretty not safe for work.
Yeah, I'll just say it's a little rapey
Yeah.
in certain parts. I'm not gonna lie, but there was something about the fact that like there were two characters that were twins that were brothers that like I was
Mhm.
just like, this is weird. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like I could get behind this because this guy is a horrible person because his twin is the horrible person, not him.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe that's just young Cassandra Brain that probably shouldn't have had that thought. But
There's a topic for another episode with the deep dive for that one.
yeah, we can figure that out, or I'll figure that out in therapy later. But yeah, they're behind such iconic movies. I mean, Puppet Master.
Oh, those are
Puppet
still
Master.
going on.
Puppet Master's still going on, and I mean, at this point, do we want them to stop?
No,
Because we
never.
don't. They're just amazing, and they're pretty incredible for what they have done. Like how many different ways that they've spun off and different things like that. Um, I think it's just truly a testament to where it's at. Subspecies, though, this is one that truly now being older and looking back on it, the few times that I have before we talked about doing this episode, it surprises me how much detail they go into this, and
Mhm.
I don't think it gets enough respect for that. Because there's
No,
a
no.
lot of Romanian and you brought up a good point because I guess I knew this, but I didn't know this, but you had told me that it was like a Romanian American like joint
Mhm.
venture.
Yeah.
Um, but they really did a good job because there are a lot of vampire movies that I think like that are just like, oh yeah, Romania. Let's splash some crap up on the screen and this makes sense and let's go forth. And they don't actually like fully explore what kind of makes the lore behind these different characters the way it is.
Mhm.
So I really do enjoy that. What is your favorite full moon picture?
My favorite full moon picture. I mean, you want to keep this down to an hour? I mean, seriously. um, okay. So right now, honestly, and this is gonna be really weird because I don't smoke weed, but I have been on an Evil Bong 4 kick. And it's the one
Ooh.
where where Rabbit opens up his own bowling alley, and it's a bowling. It's Evil Bong, so it's a topless bowling alley, and he sells. He sells or rents out the lanes, but he also put little trinkets of weed in the shoes there for him. Depending, it's like a secret code they order because
Mm-hmm.
Rabbit's your typical pervy old man. And in the movie, somewhere sprinkled throughout, and then like there's literally like a 20-minute segment in the middle where they're advertising the website badassdolls.com. So going back to the cinematic universe from earlier, other characters from different movies would show up in there. Like Uga, I can't say some of the names because of Charles Band and his non-woke thing, which I love because I love offensive humor. But this is your show, so I'm trying to behave.
I
We'll
mean, we're
just
a little unfiltered here, so you're fine.
Okay, I'll go with the one that won't get me canceled. It's this hillbilly character called Cracker Joe, and they'll like show him. He'll come up and he'll do his lines, and then he'll kind of morph into his action figure, and then they'll advertise badassdolls.com. They do this for like 20 minutes in the cheesiest way possible, and it's just hilarious. But that's just right now. It kind of changes because I grew up with Full Moon. My uncle used to own a video store, and I would spend when my mom was working for him, spend my entire day just in the horror movie section. And I was always fascinated with like, the killer toys. So my eyes went right to Puppet Master. And then I watched all these movies growing up until I got really knowledgeable about the production companies behind said movies and stuff, and didn't realize how many of them were actually under the Full Moon banner or empire. But that's a whole different topic with like business ventures and collaborations and
Yeah.
stuff. But like Dr. Mordred, Master of the Unknown with Jeffrey Combs was originally an idea for the Doctor Strange movie.
Yep.
And if people remember Prehysteria with the kid from Last Action Hero, My Girl 2, he had those little dinosaurs.
Yes.
Very kids movie, but that's actually a full moon movie.
There are a lot of different full moons, I just don't think people think about how much work really went behind creating this because this became a whole empire. Like, you brought up a good point, but this was consistently on like video store shelves. Like this was something that you would see all the time. I know the first time that I saw something full moon, it was Puppet Master, and it wasn't even at Blockbuster. I think it was at Family Video. I think it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah. And they were the first ones that actually had like a section that had full moon pictures and had different of the pictures. So like I didn't even know at that time that like, you know, Killjoy, the clown, and all Evil Bong and all the other ones were kind of weaved in there as well. So you know, it really does show you the testament of how these now hold up
Mhm.
because of how they kind of did push the envelope. I mean, if you would tell somebody back in the day that they made a movie about inanimate puppets killing people at the behest of somebody, they'd be like, are you on drugs? Like Chucky just did that. But like, you know, Charles Band made a whole entire like, and also as horror fans, we root for the toys because the toys aren't necessarily evil. It's the person behind the toys that's evil. And so that does change from movie to movie, I do realize.
Well, it depends on who's the puppet master, because actually when I did puppet master on my page for the weekly theme, the freaky fun fact was that in the beginning of the first one, there's a scene where the character Blade runs into a wall and he gets up. You hear tweeting birds like from cartoons, and since the beginning was them under Andre Toulouse, it was signifying at that time that under certain puppet masters, they're just kind of funny and harmless. Like I actually watched part 4 earlier today just out of boredom, and Rick is the puppet master. He finds him. He's a college student, and he's actually running around the I think it's the Bodega Inn, and he's playing laser tag with them, and they're just kind of it's Toy Story with a hooked finger puppet, and then the demons come and stuff. But yeah, it depends on who's the puppet master and who's controlling them. But they have revolted against them. But I'm running on a tangent here. We're supposed to talk about subspecies.
No, you're fine. No, because I get that, because it's kind of like the same idea that then what was it, Small Soldiers with Tommy Lee Jones ends up ripping off years later, where there are the good puppets and then there are the bad puppets. And
the
it was like
Gorgonites.
the Gorgonites and then the soldiers, and it was like the whole thing. So yeah, I do see where this has ripple effects, because then you go on and you see other movies that kind of play on it. So subspecies is a lot. It is meant to be very like in your face. It is meant to have those elements of like Dracula and Nosferatu, where it kind of explores that line between a sexy vampire, but then an intimidating vampire, and then like the lore behind all of that. And it's kind of scary too, because Radu is terrifying.
Oh yeah,
in certain aspects.
You could see the Nosferatu influence on just with his dangly fingers and fangs and stuff. But what you all said to the sexy and the scary, it's because with the half brother. Well, in the first one, anyways, the half brothers of Radu and Stefan. You got the one. You asked for this when you brought me on here, because if you really pay attention to it, there is a big mythology behind it, even just in the first movie alone. Because, spoiler alert, how he dies in the first one, he gets his head cut off.
Yeah,
and in a lot of vampire lore, that's one of the ways to take care of him. But it obviously with 4 or 5 because Vampire Journals counts as one, so we'll say 6 movies, so 5 sequels. Obviously, he comes back, and when you look in, it's because you find out that Stefan is more of a hybrid. He's vampire and woman. He's the son of a vampire and a woman, and Radu is son of a vampire and a sorceress.
Yes.
Which is how he's able to cut off his fingers to make the little subspecies, and how the beheading doesn't work. And I mean, you're probably going to have to do what Randy in Scream 3 said. What is it? Freeze him in carbonite and make him explode or something like that?
Yes.
I've only seen the first 3. I'm getting through 4 and 5, but that goes into the Bloodstone and then the Vampire Journals and all this other stuff.
Well, and the thing about the first movie, and this is where I'm getting in my own tangent and my own shit.
Sure.
This movie is highly influenced by Romanian culture. And one of the biggest things is the relationship between Radu and Stefan, because Radu in actual history is the younger brother of Vlad Dracul, that Dracula is based off of. And the storyline between Radu and Stefan mirrors that of what historically and also was fictionalized as a relationship between brother and other brother. So historically, there was a big divide between both brothers because they were both kept as prisoners of war. Vlad revolted and Radu did not. And it is believed that Radu had a hand in Vlad's death. And so it does pair off of that. You had kind of brought it up earlier too. Vampires don't start with Dracula.
Right.
Vampires have started since the beginning of time, and a big part of that is Romanian culture, is gypsy culture, and it is the belief of the Strigoi. So, like the festival that they're showing, and the whole idea that the dead could come back, that was a big thing. There is a part of Romanian culture with the Strigoi where they believe that they are spirits that are cursed to walk the earth and can never fully rest. So there is like ideology behind the whole like having the horse walk over a grave and stuff like that. Like those are supposed to be actual like rooted things. So this is something that does have a very like fleshed out story in that circumstance, because they do play a lot off of those actually like things that are ingrained in Romanian culture.
I think it was actually, I mean, I could be wrong on this one because I'm fuzzy on filming locations, but I think it might have been actually the first American film filmed in Bucharest.
Yes.
Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, it was the first film, at least as far as my knowledge. We can fact check this later if it's not.
Yeah.
From what I read, it was the first film that filmed in Bucharest after the fall of communism in Romania.
And that's where we're going. Why one of the reasons I enjoy it, because when yourself included, we think of full moon, we think of Puppet Master, Ginger Dead Man,
Yeah.
Ebo Bong. But there are sprinkled throughout there these movies that are really like legit horror movies. Death Dreamer, Quadrant Bane 2 to come to mind. But this one as well, and I think that's one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much, is because it's shot in Romania. It just got that creepy gothic vibe, and you don't see that much these days because the big Hollywood productions, which can be good, don't get me wrong, but just that down and dirty grittiness of it. It looks like it's, I don't know. There's something about that not clean look to it,
Yeah, it is one of those first films that I think truly does embrace an actualized Romania versus an idealized.
Mhm.
You see in a lot of films where they'll show like certain parts of Romania, and that's just not true. If you ever actually even Google Vlad Dracul's castles and stuff like that, they're not what is typically portrayed in the Dracula movies or everything like that. They're more like fortresses.
Mhm.
They are higher up on mountaintops, but that is because of the fact that Romania is also a lush and sprawling countryside, as we see like with them like going to the castle, and you see like the greenery and everything. But then there's also the mountains and like deep terraneous different parts that these castles were built upon, because they were supposed to be fortified to
Mhm.
protect their people.
Right.
So the part with the Turks too that they bring up, and they believe that the vampires are the one that saved them between about the Turks. That's another thing too that's taken from that. Like that's why they think Vlad Dracul is a vampire, is because he saves his people from thousands of years of oppression, and he does it kind of with like a small guerrilla tag kind of group of people, and they then idealize him to be this like subhuman vampire character, when really he was a sick and twisted person that just decided that he was going to use people for lawn ornaments to keep people away, and it was effective. I mean,
Well,
could you imagine going up to like you're gonna go and like try to take over somebody's land, and their whole front yard is decorated with bodies? on
Well,
stage.
this day and age, I figure they just own Spirit Halloween or some shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, true. They might have a good Lowe's credit card
Right,
with those
exactly.
skeletons.
Hey, they could really just go all out for Halloween and just be too lazy to take them down for all we know.
I mean, that's pretty true. So,
But no, you're not wrong. I mean, back in those days when Spirit Halloween didn't exist, although I did think we still had a Dollar General. You put that falls into the territory of people like getting involved in war and fighting the monster so hard they become the monster. You know, he went to these extreme lengths to keep those, in his eyes, the bad guys out. So he put the heads on the pikes, drinking their blood, and thus, you know what I mean?
yeah, and let's be clear. Historically, the Turks were horrible fucking people. If you ever want to go down a rabbit hole, you look up like Turkish warfare and
Mhm.
see the way that these sick fucks decided to do shit back then. I mean, regardless, he did kind of have a point. And
Yeah.
I mean, he was under captivity. Like the real Vlad Dracul was under captivity from them from the time he was like, I think 8, 9, 10 until
Mhm.
like well in his adulthood. So he had a front row seat to all of this. So I think, people don't realize exactly what you brought up. Sometimes you have to be the monster in order to fight the monster. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the idea that then gets brought up in this movie, like later on with the struggles with the brother. But I mean, like back, if you saw them torturing people in horrendous ways, you're going to think, okay, how am I going to stop them? Well, shit, this might work. And apparently it did because he was a big, you know, thorn in their side for years and years and years until they took him out.
Yeah.
So, it's just proof that this is something, sometimes the best intentions pave the way to hell. This is definitely a signal to that. So, for those of you who have never listened to a deep dive here on Horrorcraft, I apologize. Because we do not do things traditional. We kind of just glance. We briefly talk about the synopsis of the film. We chop parts of it up and talk about certain things, but we really don't go in deep. So I'm just going to synopsize this very quickly. But this story at the core of it is about three friends, one who is actually from Romania, that they went to college together, they get together for a project, they decide that, or I think that they're allowed to stay at this like monastery almost.
It's like a castle hostel for all I know, because they
Yeah,
go down in the
yeah.
basement and stuff, and they get that. You have your stereotypical creepy old dude who kind of gives them the back history lore and what's his story kind of thing. But this was, I mean, might not have been so stereotypical back in when it was filmed. Was it early 90s, I think?
Yeah, it was the first one was 91.
Yep.
Yeah, so they think that they are the only people there that are, they're going and doing this historical project, and they run into a man named Stefan, who is supposed to be studying the zoology, the nocturnal animals in Romania. Seems innocently enough. And then weird shit starts happening around them. They get a lot of very weird vibes. Their friend comes down ill. And what we find out is there is a war going on between two brothers where one wants power, the other one wants peace. And so in the beginning, we find out that the head vampire had two different children, like Brewster brought up before, one with a sorceress, the other one with a human. And the sorceress, he hated.
Mummy.
And yeah, Mummy. And the human who he had a child with, he, he chose peace. And so we see Radu in the beginning of it kill his own father, who is played by
Angus Jim. Sorry, I had to steal that one from you.
No, go ahead. Who plays the tall man in the Phantasm series, which, by the way, just like a side note, I did see a while ago, I think it was making like rounds on social media where he was having health issues.
Reggie.
So yeah. And I hope he's better, or I hope that, he's at least getting the care that he needs. Because he's an amazing person. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about that. So we are sending you well wishes and love. And thank you for everything that you've done for the horror community. You have traumatized a generation of us, and we appreciate you for it.
Reggie's a fighter. He's got this.
Yes, he does. So, but we find out that there is a stone that was blessed by the Catholic Church to where they can drink blood from the stone and they do not have to consume the blood of people. It can also turn you into a raging fucking powerful dipshit, which is the option that Radu starts going with. So we see that Stefan is not an innocuous, zoologist, that he is the other brother. And then a fight ensues, and he actually falls in love with one of the students. She tries to help him. He also tries to help her save her friends. That unfortunately does not happen. And it's then left for him, his current love then, and his brother to fight it out. And we think he gets the upper hand because he decapitates Radu and stakes him. But it's not without losses because his love has been bitten and she is going to either turn or die a horrible death. So he decides to bite it and turn her. And then we see at the end that the little creatures, like Brewster had brought up before, the technical subspecies that Radu had created was going to wake up their master. And that is how we get 2 through 6 after that, because it just keeps evolving and going into different levels. But this first film, the reason I think it does set it up for 6 films is it's just so solid. And then it does have parts where you can kind of explore and go into it because, with the whole idea of Radu's mom being a sorceress, we kind of see that in later films and get appearances from her. And we dive deeper into the myth of the bloodstone, like you were talking about, and different people get added. And it's just, we go 100 million different directions, but then we come back to the same place.
Well, the first one I saw was Vampire Journal, so I technically watched them out of order, and I don't remember a whole lot of that except for the main vampire with a conscience in the movie. Kind of reminded me of Brandon Lee in The Crow.
It was Julian Sands, wasn't it?
No.
Oh no, I'm thinking about different.
I'll look it up right now. Yeah, I don't think it was any big name. I just can't remember what his name was. I just remember.
I'm totally full of shit right now.
What movie were you thinking of with Julian Sands?
There is a vampire movie with Julian Sands in it that was kind of reminding me of that.
Is there?
Yeah.
I want to deep dive on this now.
R.I.P. Julian Sands. There also
Warlock.
is a Phantom of the Opera Julian Sands.
Really?
That is Mario Bava, I think. It's either it's oh my goodness. I am going to I'm just full of shit. No, there actually is Phantom of the Opera. So okay, I found it. It's Phantom of the Opera. It is Argento. That's who it is. It is Dario Argento.
Oh, he was the man back then.
Yes. And it's got his daughter in it that plays Christine, and Julian Sands is the Phantom. But he was less of a disfigured Phantom and more of like a disfigured soul Phantom. Okay. So, yeah. Hi, my name's Cass. I know useless things.
That's all of us. Our brains are essentially a bag of cats at this point. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
Um,
100%. So,
but I think what I was going to was that Vampire Journal is essentially the journal or the movie's named after is the journal they use in part 3, where you find a little bit more backstory about the king. What was his name? What was the king's name in there? Angus Scrimm's character.
Oh,
Vassive something.
it is.
Vladislas? I can never pronounce that.
Yes.
Vladislas. So you find out more of his. And I think from what I found out, because I still have to watch 4 and 5, is that the characters from Vampire Journals cross over into Subspecies 4.
Yes, they do. So it is King Vladislav,
All right.
which is a very traditional Romanian name. But yes, he does. You do find out more about his character. Anders Hove, arguably though,
he's got a horror resume under his belt that I did not know about until recently.
Oh, he's done tons. Like let's be honest, he kind of carries this franchise on his whole back.
Oh, for sure.
Like 100%. Like the reason that Radu, I think, does so well in these movies is as much as we hate him, there is a part of him that we kind of resonate with, and we understand that more in later movies when we see him interact with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, not all evil or quintessentially evil people. I mean, he's evil to his core.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But there is a part of him that you do resonate with because you understand why he was made this way.
Mm-hmm.
And you do kind of respect his consistency. Like, at least he's going to be an evil shit through the whole entire thing. And we love him for it.
Well, he's one of those villains you enjoy watching because you're one. It's like if anyone out there watching, this is not horror related, actually, the show Oz back on HBO, that HBO drama.
Yes.
Ryan, we all tuned in every week to see what Ryan Riley, played by Dean Winters, was up to. He was always scheming. He played both sides. He was always up to something, and that was one of the reasons we all tuned in. It's like, okay, what's he going to do next? What's he going to do next? But at his core, he was also, I mean, not quite as evil as Radu, because Ryan just kind of got in over his head. I mean, that goes back into the fighting the monster territory with his way of drugs and stuff, but. You're absolutely right, because he does. In the third one, you do kind of find out that, for lack of better words, the guy's essentially lonely because he gives in to the girl he sires and will do whatever she wants because he just wants her affection returned to him,
Yeah. You do kind of understand like the loneliness aspect of it because that's something we see a lot in different vampire movies. It's the disillusion of immortality. Like one of my favorite ones that brings it up that I think does a really good job about exploring it in such a beautiful way, especially with the newer series, is Interview with the Vampire.
The series or the movie?
The series.
Okay.
I enjoy the movie, but like to me, Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise never made sense for those. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. I more so specifically like the characters that they picked because I'll be honest. If you're going to write a book where it's very clear that two men are in love with each other, and then you're going to tiptoe around those themes because you're worried about different things, I think you've got bigger fish to fry in that one. So the new series kind of just gets it out of the, like, you know what I mean? Like, they're just like, okay, this is part of the story. This is what we're working with. But they do kind of like very intimately wrestle with that idea because that's kind of Lestat's problem is, the disillusion of having, immortality. Like he was kind of forced into being immortal. We find out the same with the character Armand and a lot of the vampires that we then see through the Anne Rice universe, that a lot of them were not turned per their request. They were turned because of certain people. Yeah. And it's the disillusion that they have to live with when it comes to immortality. And I think that that's something that does get brought up here too, because like, of course, if you've been alive for thousands of years and you've had all of these things going on, if somebody's giving you affection, you're going to give into them.
Well, look at Fright Night and the Lost Boys. Those are for some reason the first two to come to mind. But Jerry Dandridge and Max. Now Dandridge had more of the original Dracula thing, where the girl reminded him of the one from his youth, kind of thing. Whereas Max in Lost Boys, I think, just had a hard on for her and wanted to make her the mother of his children.
And devil's advocate, I've said this before, but
Sure.
Jerry wasn't wrong, okay? I'm sorry, but Jerry is a more likable character in
Hold
that
on.
movie.
I'm with you 100%. I'm sorry to interject here, but this is one I'm with you 100% on, because of if anything, one line when he's holding Charlie in his room and he's like, I'm going to give you a choice, something I was never given. I mean, you can see that he doesn't want to be doing this, and he's not even enjoying killing like the prostitutes and homeless and stuff, but he has to feed off of something.
Yeah, he does say that often. And the fact is even Charlie isn't a good person. We see that in the beginning of the movie, like the way he treats Amy as an accessory. And we see that also with Evil Ed's character as well. And honestly, if you were a vampire and you were kind of just trying to exist, and there was some annoying ass teenager that was kind of trying to fuck up your shit, you would be like, seriously, like, bro, I'm just trying to get along here. Like,
yeah.
And sorry that your girlfriend kind of looks like somebody that I knew back in the day, but like, he had game. What do you want him to say? Like, he had game. Listen, if your girl didn't want to get stolen, she wouldn't have got stolen.
He kind of hypnotized her.
He did, but I mean, at the same time, if I was with Charlie and he treated me like an accessory and Jerry came knocking on my door, as a woman, I would fold like a table. Okay. I'm just going to say that right now. That's my raw and unfiltered opinion for the night. But like, I'm sorry, but like the whole time Charlie just treats her like she's nothing. Like,
no, he's a horny teenager of the 80s, you know?
Yeah, which I get. But like, don't be surprised then when she's got options and she's not going to pick you. I mean, she did kind of get hypnotized, but I mean, it was Chris Sarandon. Like, it's fine. Same with this though. Like,
it's cool. Don't worry about it.
but no, that is my rub, because you kind of find out about that more in Fright Night 2 with his sister.
Yeah.
And how you get the sense that this was never something that either one of them signed up for. It is something that they've just had to live with for the rest of their lives. And they at least looked out for each other. So then don't be surprised that she's coming to look for revenge for her brother. But I mean, that is an idea that I think gets played with. So you do kind of understand Radu. Like, you do kind of understand, like, he has to be this evil for a reason, especially then when you meet his mother. Like, I've heard some crazy monster-in-law stories on Reddit, but like, his mom is a sorceress who is purely evil. So you can see that the apple does not fall far from the tree in the later movies. But I do like the way that this plays with it. It does bring up a lot of things that we see, like the friend being ill and him kind of drinking her blood. That's something that we see a lot, especially, in comparison with Dracula. The festival part I thought was really cool, because that is something that legitimately happens in Romania. But I just think, and the creature effects in this are just, they're cool. Like,
I'm sorry, I love the Subspecies, but they remind me of those little demons from The Gate, if you remember that movie.
They do, and that's probably why I like it. That's probably why I like it. So,
which I think were like small, like slivers of Satan himself, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they're supposed to mirror like the little demons you would see in the illustrations for Dante's Inferno. You did bring up a good point though. Anders Hove does have a pretty impressive lineup of horror credits. He was in Tales from the Crypt. He was in Critters 4. He was in all of the Subspecies movies. He also has done a lot of other things like Cagney and Lacey. And like, I mean, he just has a ton of TV appearances and really just kind of goes here and there. Like he is, that's probably why I like him. He is one of those actors that if he likes something, he sticks with it, but he does
Yeah.
kind of play with different genres, which is something I like. One of my favorite actors is Brian Thompson. Growing up, and he was the one that played Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Lionheart. He was the limo driver
Yes.
bodyguard dude.
Yeah. And for some
Terminator.
reason, Terminator, he was also in Kindred the Embraced.
Yes, he was. Holy shit.
Yeah, and he was also on Charmed. He was on Buffy. He was on a lot of different things. But growing up, he just kept popping up on my screen, and I was like,
Yeah.
this dude's pretty cool.
Dude, that Mortal Kombat movie was terrible. I'm sorry.
The one with him.
Uh-huh.
Something about it, about those movies. I love them.
I own it. I try to rewatch it, but they just cram too much in there.
I kind of feel like that's people's complaints with Mortal Kombat in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, because a lot of people hate on the new ones too, and I'm like, what?
The one that came out, all right, so the one that came out a few years ago wasn't terrible.
So I think what people need to realize when this happens is the product that comes on screen sometimes isn't the product that they intended to make.
Oh, of
And
course not.
especially with Mortal Kombat, the newer one, they were planning on making a whole different movie, and then the pandemic happened.
I remember.
And they had to shutter everything. So the fact that that was a movie that continued on after the pandemic and still was as good as it was.
Yeah.
Now listen, the new one that's coming out, that might be a testament to it, but I'm a 90s kid. I'm glued into Mortal Kombat no matter what. You know, you get that Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in. I'm sold. You got me. Like, just write the check.
This is my complaint, and this will be forever my complaint with any future Mortal Kombat movie. If you don't have Johnny Cage in it, you've already lost me a little bit.
Well, they do, so the new one does have it.
I guess like, Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, yeah.
Yeah.
Keith Urban.
I know, right? Oops.
That would have been funny. But yeah, no, I mean, people are kind of complaining about that, but like Carl Urban's like a nerd juggernaut. So what do you expect?
Well, I was honestly rooting, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but hear me out. Joel McHale, because he voices Johnny Cage in the animated movies, and
I could see that.
He's cut. He's ripped. So if he just jacked up a little bit, he could pull it off.
Well, and Joel McHale is now on Yellow Jackets right now.
I've never seen that show. I know of it. I've never seen it.
Yeah,
though.
Joe McHale showed up on Yellow Jackets a couple episodes ago, and I was like, Joel McHale, where have you been? And he's like a wilderness buff, like, and buffed up too. So I could see it.
Well, he ad-libbed all of his lines in those movies. They gave him the basic thing. He just ad-libbed everything. So every quip you hear Johnny Cage say, that's Joel McHale just winging it. I mean, come on. We'll give Carl Urban a shot. We'll see. You know, I'm open-minded, but I was a little disappointed when I did. I mean, it's the same thing with Krasinski not playing Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie after seeing him in Multiverse of Madness. You know, I'll give Pascal a chance because I like him, but I was hoping they'd run with Krasinski because that was just amazing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. For me, the main point is I have always been kind of like disillusioned by the fact that in any movie that they've done, they never make Sub-Zero and Scorpion a main point of it. Yeah. And so that's what got me, especially casting who they did to play Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So I'm just going to be loyal to that till the day I die. Like that was brilliant. And a lot of the people they picked, especially the guy that they picked to play the guy with the robotic arms.
Jax.
Yeah, Jax. The guy who plays McCabe Adams, I think he's on Law and Order too, and he's phenomenal. So I'm just like, I'm okay with that. Plus, the person that they picked to play Katana coming out, I think she's going to kill it too. So, you know, even if it's not lackluster, if certain things are lackluster, it's Mortal Kombat. If you smash some heads together and there's and the guy that they have to play Shao Kahn looks like Shao Kahn, like
Yeah.
looks like the game version of Shao Kahn. So I will be forever okay with that.
I just there's two complaints I really had was the introducing of the new guy as Scorpion's son was kind of like just he didn't have a lot of character depth to me, you know, because you want to see a familiar character take the main stage, even if it wasn't Liu Kang for the first movie, some new character. I mean, it was kind of cool. He had like the blades that spun out, whatever, and then Goro having like just like a side role when he's actually like, you know, the second to main villain. And a minor one is Reiko, how he was portrayed. He was like just a big brutish grunt, when in the storyline, he's actually like extremely intelligent. He's like a war general. You know, he's coming up with strategic battle plans and stuff. And in this one, he's just kind of a hired muscle.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just I don't have much expectation when it comes to like game movie adaptations, because I feel like that's where a lot of people come in with Resident Evil. And like
so good though.
Silent Hill, stuff like that. Like, you know, there are movies like that where I'm just like, there are some that I get it. There are others that I'm like, what did you kind of expect? The one that I do have really big hopes for is the Until Dawn one that's coming out.
I was about to say, I'm with you on that one because I've never played the game. So there's going to be people out there who have played it and hate it. I think I'm going to love it. I love that every day is a different type of monster kill. I mean, I'm all for that 100%. I will be there opening night.
And there's kind of talk through the internet that if this goes well, then that they might actually go forward with a Dead by Daylight film. And that would be a very interesting concept as well. So I'm hoping that this does good. I also, you know, we've got some really great movies coming up. So like Sinners is coming out.
Yeah,
that's gonna be phenomenal. Final Destination Bloodlines, like we're gonna have a lot of things come out. So Till Dawn, I think it's gonna be okay. Like we pushed through some pretty interesting ones. Brewster could tell you about his experience with women in the yard.
Oh no, don't worry. Me and Rick did a video on that yesterday. You will be hearing about my opinions on women on the yard. The woman in the yard.
I'm a little scared. Not for your opinions, but I'm just scared. So if you want that review, go watch the Talkin Tapes channel, because we definitely don't hold back in certain aspects when it comes to certain things like that. So, but getting back to this movie, there is some trivia. I feel like Brewster's got some as well. But this is all from the IMDb page. I was correct. This was the first American film to be shot in Romania, particularly in the aftermath of the fall of communism in Romania. I did ACE history growing up.
I see that.
So I'm kind of a nerd. But the subspecies minions that you were talking about were originally going to be played by live actors in costumes. That would be kind of weird, wouldn't that?
It might look more realistic than what we got in the thing, which I'm not complaining about. I love that cheesy B movie stuff, but it was very like the subspecies did not look like the feet were actually touching the ground.
That is a very good point.
You know?
Well, the director, Ted Nicola, thought that the stuntmen were overacting and that it didn't go well overall. They then brought in effects artist David W. Allen to work with the subspecies stop motion puppets. So they're actually stop motion puppets.
Oh, gotcha.
So this is exactly what I was talking about. Radu is named after Radu the Handsome, brother of Romanian Prince Vlad the Impaler.
You called it.
Himself was the inspiration for the quintessential vampire Count Dracula. I also know an absorbent amount of vampire history. So yeah, I did have a vampire encyclopedia.
That's awesome.
But elements of the film, particularly the subspecies minions, are actually recycled from an unmade film called The Subterraneans, which in turn was originally to have been filmed in the 1980s by producer Charles Band's previous studio, Empire International, in Rome.
The more you know.
Yeah. The song Nightwing by Swedish black metal band Marduk from their 1980 album of the same name is a cover of the main theme of Subspecies, and the song itself is about the main antagonist, Radu Vladislav. They did have a effect that got cut, and another deleted scene from the film featured Radu turning into a rotted corpse while asleep during the day. The director had the scene removed after realizing the effects didn't look very good.
And this is full moon, so if it didn't look good, it looked bad.
Yeah. The film's trailer reuses music from Stuart Gordon's From Beyond. If you didn't know that. There was going to be a 10th anniversary DVD with a widescreen transfer. It was planned for late 1990s, early 2000s DVD release, but was canceled for copyright reasons. So the film's trailer also features a scene not retained in the final cut in the movie. Dennis Palali was originally attached as a writer for the film. So, yeah, that was some of the facts that they had on IMDb. We will disclose that down below. So this was directed by Nicholas. I'm trying to say no. So it was directed by Ted Nicolo. It was written by Charles Band, Jack Canson, and David Palabin. So Anders Hove obviously plays Radu. Arena Malava, it plays Mara, which is the one that Stefan's character falls in love with. So we do see that this storyline continues on after Subspecies and how that kind of twists and turns. So if this is interesting to you, like I said, all of them are on IMDb, and I would highly encourage you watching it. But yeah, I feel like this is just underrated. I feel like a lot of people forget about this in the hierarchy of vampires, and it's kind of crazy because this is one that's got teeth to it. I mean, it is pretty brutal. Like when the brothers go after each other, they are not like just taking like light chunks. I mean, they are fully going to war with each other. And we see that kind of throughout the series too, where Radu, when he gets like unleashed, is kind of just a force to be reckoned with.
Well, this goes back to what we were talking earlier about with the love aspect and that kind of thing. You also forget that, look, people in this day and age just growing to their normal age or get crankier as they get older because they see stuff and they just get fed up with, how life treats things, whatever their personal experiences are. People get, old people are cranky, and it's not because, it's because they're old, but it's because just they're sick of like the same old thing. Maybe it's they work the same job, whatever. These guys have got centuries added to that. So they're not going to be as happy-go-lucky. That's why when you mention the blood battle between the two, Stefan might be the better of the two, but he's still pissed.
Yeah. Well, and the big thing about this too is you do kind of understand in parts where Radu is coming from, because he is the older sibling, and the whole idea of being passed up because of who your parent is and because of how that has transformed you into a person, definitely would. And you do see that kind of play out in their relationship. At first I think Radu does try to give Stefan a chance to kind of just like submit and like leave him alone. And Stefan's like, I cannot do that. Like you're going to go crazy. And so you do kind of see both sides of it. But obviously this is something then that's been underlying for a long time, because you can imagine you have family drama, but having family drama between immortals, and especially then adding in like people you sire and stuff like that. Like that's a whole soap opera. No wonder they came out with Kindred the Embrace as it being a vampire soap opera. Okay. Because clearly there's some things that are going to go on.
Mhm.
Like, you're just like, you think about just regular family drama, but then you add in power, bloodlust, favoritism, all of those things.
The fact
E-
you can't go out sunbathing is so much, you gotta, I mean, if they were alive now, how the fuck would they shop at Walmart? You know what I mean?
I mean,
With it not
maybe
being open 24 hours anymore,
I know maybe they take one of those stupid, daylight rings from the Vampire Diaries.
There was the Gem of Amara in the first season of Angel.
There was. There was.
Most likely they use their familiars, like whatever the fuck that character was in Fright Night that worked with Jerry. I don't know what the hell he was, but he was out in the daylight.
Yeah, he wasn't he a werewolf?
No, I mean no, Fright Night had a weird one because if evil, of course, turning into a wolf, which I mean harkens back to Dracula. But in part two, the one there was like it was a sister and her two minions.
Yeah, because Brian Thompson is also in Fright Night
Yes,
Part
3
Two.
minions.
Yeah,
He's a limo driver. Holy shit, he is. And then the other guy was Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
yes.
And he was very more werewolf than vampire.
And the other guy was like her dresser almost or whatever.
Yeah, because when she scratched him by accident, that killed him, and like all these bugs came out.
Yeah.
So it's the familiar of some form. I mean, that's what they do. Lost Boys had the Hounds of Hell. Others had the familiars.
That's very true. It's an interesting, it definitely is an interesting concept. And it just is a touch more dramatic when we're talking about actual like castles, like actual castles. Like that is one thing that you do see, like the realism aspect that is amped up as the subspecies goes on. This isn't like Dracula's castle that just happens to be this like unrealistic, like not post-war, like torn down castle. But in these movies, you definitely see like, yes, this was grand, but this has also been sitting for a really long time, and they're there.
And that's what I'm going with when I mentioned earlier about the grittiness of it. Again, going back to modern day horror movies, yeah, they look dirty, but I mean, this one, you really feel like you're going to need a tetanus shot or something after stepping foot into there. I mean, it's really got that, and these fuckers have to live in there. So yeah, again, they're going to be a little cranky.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the only recent movie that I felt like did a job where they actually like showed the grittiness behind something like that was the new Nosferatu. Like the visuals itself was just very like, because when you see that castle and you see like all of that put together and his outfit and stuff, that's how they were back in the day.
Yeah.
So you do see a lot more of that in the buildings, because it's not like these big like King Arthur style like fortresses, castles,
Yeah.
stuff like that. They're very like um put together. These are
Yeah.
people who did not have, even when they had money, did not have that amount of money and really had to make do with the resources that they have. And timber is a big one because of the forests around there.
Yeah.
And the materials that they have, you kind of just throw it together. So even like elaborate buildings are not very elaborate. So there is a real like, especially in the forest, because that was a big thing that got me too. The shots that they do in the forest, that truly does look like a Romanian forest. Like that isn't just like, hey, we went to the metro parks and shot this like in the back 5. You know what I mean? Like this was, you could tell that this is something you take the wrong way and you are gone. You are never coming back. Like you have been claimed by the forest of Romania, and you are no longer going to exist. Like these are truly like haunting, like when they see Radu in the trees and they run off and stuff like that. Like good thing they do run into Stefan, because Lord knows if they would ever have found their way out. Like even the one girl who is Romanian, like they're just all panicked and they're running off into a different, and that's the kind of forest that you would not want to be doing it in. So there is a big like everything with the real and the costumes too. Like it's nothing super grand,
Mhm.
but it does make sense for each of their characters. You know, Radu is not very like flashy.
Yeah.
He's got the long fingers and, the look and the gaunt face and everything. But he has a very like just plain put together, like almost like a three-piece suit, if you want to call it like a Romanian three-piece suit, I guess.
Yeah.
But he has a very simple and they're all like they're all dressed for like the the girls are dressed for the occasion. Like it makes sense for them like backpacking. It makes sense for the gypsy characters and like the different things. It's not like a over characterized version of them. So there is a lot of realism I do feel in this movie, and something that should be praised because there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in vampire movies. I watched an absorbent amount of crazy vampire movies, and
I've seen one or two.
yeah, and this is some realism that I appreciate because they just try to stay very grounded, and I think that's why the story does well, is because it's just rooted a lot in realism,
Mhm.
versus maybe some other full moon pictures. So this is one of those that I feel like is more solid than people give it credit for.
Well, I mean, when they tribute vampires in this day and age, it's gotten kind of watered down. Not that I don't love, the modern day vampires. I mean, there's some good ones out there, but they're all sexy. They're all love icons. You know what I mean? As opposed to being more along. I mean, and they've always had, like you said, even the younger ones, this one included, that romantic, tragic villain type of thing, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. But they're all, nowadays they're all pretty boys. Like in season 5 of Supernatural, he's like, those aren't vampires, these are douchebags. You
Yeah,
know?
I agree with that though. There is like an innate sexiness behind some of this movie,
Yeah.
but they're also terrifying as well. And I
Mhm.
think we've gotten so far onto the one part of it that we don't
Mhm.
recognize the other. And I feel like that was a lot of people's complaint with Nosferatu. They were like, "Oh, well, they're like they're he yeah, he's not sexy and they're trying to make it this thing. He's not supposed to be sexy. He's supposed to be
Right.
fucking terrifying. And it isn't like you're supposed to be falling all over this person. She
Right.
is haunted by this person. Like
Yeah.
it is truly horrifying. But there are those elements where that kind of comes into play. And I mean, vampires can be scary. Like 30 Days a Night is still one of my favorite movies,
Yeah.
and that's absolutely horrifying. And it's very simple at its core because it's just vampires figuring out that, hey, this town is going to be without daylight for like 30 days, and we could go in and isolate all of them, wipe out the whole population, and move on.
Mhm.
And they don't look like pretty vampires. They
Yeah.
look like normal people till they open their mouth and they look like jaws and they take a chunk out of you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there is that almost idea where we have like almost hypersexualized vampires, probably because, like, let's face it, Buffy and Angel, they did have like sexy vampires and stuff like that, but they were still kind of like gritty and gross at different times, and it was the face and everything, so it wasn't like crazy. But then we got to like Vampire Diaries and Twilight and everything like that, and they just kind of went we just kind of went
For the record, I'm not dogging Angel. I own all 5 seasons. All right. So we're
no,
good
no,
there.
no, no. I mean, I love Buffy. Buffy
Yeah.
is one of my favorites. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. But no, and Twilight, I was a fan of the books, okay? But
No judgment. I'm a judgment-free
for
zone.
me, the only sparkly vampires are Lost Boys.
Of course.
I mean,
Honestly, if we're going to the sexy vampire, and I might catch a lot of hate for this one, but I don't care. One of my guilty pleasures has been since it came out was John Carpenter's Vampires.
oh my God,
And
100%,
and
1000%.
Valak definitely has that violent but sexy appeal to him.
Oh, 1000%. Like, it's the same way that From Dusk Till Dawn does it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like Selma Hayek is hot. Like
Oh, trust me, I've had many conversations with a buddy of mine. Yeah.
yeah, she's hot. But then like she turns into a snake creature, but she's
Mhm.
still hot.
Well,
So
it's because if you watch the TV show, the 3 seasons, which I do recommend, it's actually really
I
fucking good.
I I a lot of people hate it. I
I
love
loved
it.
it. I've seen every episode. Then you know that they weren't necessarily vampires; they were more minions of an ancient Mayan snake deity.
Yes.
So that explains the movie a lot more when you got these weird lizard-like vampires with fucking mouths in their stomachs.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that tracks. I mean, that is something that is rooted in Mayan culture
Yeah.
and something that does. But yeah, no, I'm there with you for vampires. I mean, it's also the reason why I watch Kindred the Embrace probably at least once a month. Just put that
Mhm.
on the background and let it, because they have some not so great looking vampires, but then you got
Yeah.
Julia Luna at the front of it, and you're like, he's pretty. But I mean, there are those vampires that kind of walk that line, and
Mhm.
I think we have gotten one way or another. I think we're getting back there. I
Let's
think we're
hope so.
getting I think we're getting back there. People just need to stop hating on movies. Salem's Lot was a big one for me. I enjoyed Salem's Lot, the new one that came out. I understand that it maybe is not what the original was, but for what
Yeah.
they were able to put out, which I heard that because it was shelved, there was a lot of things that were cut out that probably could have made more sense. But for what was put out, it's fucking terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
people die. Like,
I will have to see. Was that the HBO one, HBO
yes.
Max? I don't have that, so I was unable to watch it. But the first one, of course, definitely has some big shoes to fill because that hospital brother scene still terrifies the absolute piss out of me.
Oh, they do that in this one, and they
Oh,
amp it
good.
up. They amp it up even more. So
I'll check it out if I can get around to or get a copy of it somehow. But I don't have HBO Max. I'm not paying for it.
it's okay. We'll talk
You
afterwards.
got it.
But yeah, I mean, that was terrifying because that was, I mean, like the whole town just goes under without you even realizing it, and then everyone's just gone. So
Yeah.
I do think with like that Nosferatu, we are getting back, but there's a fine line. Radu is a perfect example of it. There is something about him that there you are kind of like, okay, the power is maybe a little attractive, but
Mhm.
he's still a monster.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And he makes no bounds about it. And that's kind of
Mhm.
like, you know what it is? It's like the Deacon Frost effect.
Oh,
Deacon
from
Frost,
Blade.
yeah, Deacon Frost is like a pretty boy, but he's a
Mhm.
fucking monster.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and there's no like bones about it. And
Yeah.
we see that with other characters in the Blade series as well. So I think that that's kind of a line that we can toe with them. So I would love for them. I know the last Subspecies movie came out in 2023, and kind of tried like did kind of wrapped it up a little bit, but
Mhm.
I would like to see them do more with Subspecies. I would love for them to add more, even possibly.
It's
Um,
full moon. You never know what you're going to see next. We could see Radu show up in the future. I don't know, Evil Bong or something. Because the Evil Bong movie, the first one, when all the stoners are in Bong world, you see. I think it's Jack Death from Trancers, maybe. That one I'm not too familiar with because it's more sci-fi. And you see Jack Attack. You see the Ginger Dead Man because it was just an excuse to throw all these other full moon staples in there because it didn't. It was an alternate reality. So there's no. They didn't need an excuse to put the characters in there except for this is Bong world.
yeah, well, you kind of respect that though. Like
Oh, of
honestly,
course.
it's kind of genius the way that um things kind of play out like that. So I kind of want to slide into this because you went to Church Chills this
I
weekend, and that was
did.
a full moon event.
It
Um,
was.
so I mean, there will be a video for Talking Tapes where we're talking about this, but
Yeah.
is there something in particular that kind of stands out to you about that?
I
I mean,
uh,
I'm jealous because of the Barbara Crampton part. Okay.
it's just they really take care of their fans. The tickets are a bit pricey, but it's because of everything that's included. You know, you don't have to pay for the autographs or the meet and greets. I mean, concessions or merchandise, of course, but you know, you get antics from Charles Band's side of things. You get to watch whatever movie they're showing on. This time was the uncut version of Puppet Master with a whole 2 extra minutes. And then you get the boner meter, and it's so much fun. And the only issue I have, and I'm not complaining because again, what you get for the meet and greets are kind of fast because it's a long table and stuff. And Charles Band is running a tight ship. He's like, okay, we got this much time for this, 30 minutes of this. So I understand it. I'm not complaining or dogging it, but you know, it is kind of like you got to get in and out. If you are really excited to meet somebody, you're probably not going to get a chance to ask your nerd questions there. And I got to run into my buddy Travis Stoner, who was in Death Streamer, and see him again. And it was great to just catch up and see what he's been up to. I'd say the highlight, unfortunately, wasn't full moon related, is that me and Tiki got recognized.
Yeah,
we were pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. Like that even happened when we were at Cinema Wasteland. So
I heard what happened. I wasn't there for that one.
I guess a couple people came up to Tiki and like knew him from that. So I mean, listen, we are doing pretty incredible things on Talkin Tapes. So if you, at this point in time, if you have not heard me talk about Talkin Tapes, which I have every single episode at this point in time because I love Talkin Tapes and the Talkin Tapes Collective, you need to go to the link in this episode down below and subscribe. Because you get to see my beautiful face and Brewster's, and along with Brick and Tiki, and you get to see all of our fun adventures, which is great. So I wanted to ask you that because I know that's your thing in horror this week.
What's that?
The Church of Chills.
Oh yeah, that's we you know, going off of the, I guess, bragging. It was so much fun. And Robinson, Charles Band, I finally got to meet him. I just missed him last year, and I got to meet him. And super nice guy. Robinson, his wife, who's the Full Moon's leading lady, is a total sweetheart. I mean, she was giving everyone high fives and asking everybody if they're having a good time. And I mean, you genuinely believe that she was actually happy to be there. They treat their fans well, and the merchandise is actually pretty inexpensive. I got, I think, a couple Blu-rays and Tiki stuff. It was like $60 tops. You know, and you're going to spend that to meet a celebrity typically at any other convention. So we'll definitely be there back in October this year. We're going to get our tickets day one, and always looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a lot of fun. I obviously was at Cinema Wasteland with the guys on Sunday, and so I talked about that in a previous episode that we did, talking about that. But my thing in horror this week is, you know, I hate to be this kind of girl because I really didn't think that this was going to turn out to be something that I would be like, yeah, that looks interesting. But, you know, CinemaCon was last week. They dropped a lot of different trailers, and one of the trailers that they dropped was for Megan 2.0.
Oh, I can't wait.
And I did not think that there was a way that they could revive, and they proved me wrong. They proved me wrong. They showed me right. And I praise them for it because it looks like if you didn't think that Megan was like kind of a meta movie, this absolutely proves that Megan is a meta movie because this kind of like takes it Terminator way. Like making a robot that Megan has to go up against to make Megan not the bad guy because she's the bad guy. That is fucking genius.
I didn't hear about that. All I saw was the teaser that the bitch is back.
Oh, watch the trailer. So the trailer definitely pretty much, I'm not going to spoil too much, but pretty much what happens is the plans for Megan, they put Megan into a different body so they can contain her and make sure that like nobody can replicate her, and somebody gets a hold of the aunt's plans for Megan and makes a Megan type robots. Okay. And Megan has to come back in order to save Katie. And so they upgrade her into a different, taller, more buffed up Megan. And her and the other robot go pretty much mano a mano throughout the whole thing.
Oh,
And
I'm even more intrigued now.
Oh, and what made it even better, Brewster, I'm just going to tell you, as somebody like 90s girl at heart, Britney Spears plays in most of the, like, Oops, I Did It Again plays in like 50% of it. And I will tell you that was probably the greatest placement ever. Like, it was so much fun. Megan and this robot go back and forth, and they literally, like, they need a sideshow together. Like, we need a meet and greet opportunity at them, like for them at horror nights or something, where they're just like roasting each other back and forth. So, because I mean, it looks so good. Like, it really went from, okay, this is a horror movie, to, okay, Megan's no longer the villain, and Megan's going to kick the shit out of this other robot. So prepare for an action movie. And that's what
So
they did.
they're kind of going with Don't Breathe 1 and 2, whereas, like, you're kind of questioning who's the lesser of two evils on this one.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you kind of find out, like, in this one and the second one, it's probably the lesser of two evils at this point is going to be Megan.
Fair enough.
At least that's the insinuation that we get from it. And, like, I don't know, there were just some funny parts. Like, she goes up to the guy that she broke his hand in the first one or whatever. I forget what happened to him, but she was like, "I'm sorry that I did that." And she, like, and you're expecting her to, like, snap his hand off, but then she, like, lightly touches it, and he's like, like, and it's just, I mean, they just play fun with it. They poke fun at it. And I love when movies can do that. And I did really enjoy Megan.
Oh, I own it.
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I thought it was something different and unique. And this kind of just further proved that
Mhm.
idea with this. So I didn't, I'm not saying that I was hating it, but I just
Yeah.
kind of, with Megan 2.0, there are those movies that when they become popular, you're like, okay, of course this is going to be like a cash grab. But then
Mhm.
you're like, are they going to make it an inherent cash grab? And they kind of proved that, like, yeah, we might be making a sequel because this movie was wildly popular, but this sequel is going to kick ass. So we need you to buckle in. So I really enjoyed it. I guess we'll see what happens when it comes out, but, like, I was very excited for it. I also heard Black Phone 2. They
Mhm.
showed footage of Black Phone 2. And I guess Black Phone 2 is supposed to be taking the Freddy Krueger route,
Oh,
where
hell
even though,
yeah.
yeah, where even though he's beyond the grave, he's coming back to torture the main character and his sister. And that it's going to be set in a summer camp in the winter, and it's going to be a telephone booth that they're communicating with.
Nice.
So yeah, so I just think this is going to be, even though we got, woman in the yard and different movies that came out that were
Wolfman
a,
presence.
a little lackluster, even though we
Oh.
did have some bangers with
Oh, yeah.
Companion and Hard Eyes.
I
And
loved Hard Eyes.
Hard Eyes was one of my favorites. But um it looks like we're in for a pretty, like, rockin' summer, where we're just gonna have some movies that are just gonna be, like, ripping.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope that they were releasing the stinkers early, because not many people are going to the movies anyways.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I went to go see Minecraft with my son today, and that was definitely an experience.
I
Um,
heard.
yeah, I will tell you, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, my son thoroughly enjoyed it. But I feel like if parents are going in expecting this to not be just, like, all over the place, you're going to be disappointed. Jack Black and Jason Momoa, they need to do more movies together. Like, they had, like, a Sonny and Cher type relationship towards the end that they were going
Yeah.
for. And there are just some things that happened in that movie that I was like, this is fucking hilarious. But like, how did you get Jack Black and Jason Momoa to agree with this? Like, but then I did see that Jason Momoa was one of the producers, so I'm assuming
It's probably
that
his
he.
idea.
I was about to say, I'm assuming he was probably maybe the one that suggested some of it. But yeah, it was.
Uh-huh.
There was just some parts in it that were just. There's a lot of adult humor. There's kid humor. There's mid humor. There's a lot of adult humor. Jennifer Coolidge definitely steals the show.
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge just eats it up. So, but yeah, I I love going to the movies, but I do like being at home.
Well, that's why I
So,
still have Peacock
yeah.
and Paramount.
I mean, I have them all. So,
I canceled 3 of mine, but I Peacock and Paramount are undiscovered or underrated gems, and you do get a lot of the exclusive stuff like anything NBC. Was it no Universal? Is it or NBC?
yeah, well, I mean, I would already have Peacock anyways because Law and Order raised me. That might explain a lot of things.
Yes, it might.
Yeah,
But you do get a lot of the
you get a lot of
exclusive ones.
you do get a lot of the movies that come out and stuff like that. Which, by the way, How to Train Your Dragon, that trailer looked absolutely amazing. I saw that trailer today, and I'm kind of excited for that one too. So
I saw it, but I don't know what movie. Oh, I think I went to see Freaky Tales, and I think that was one of the
yeah,
trailers in there.
yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Listen, I like How to Train Your Dragon, so I'm probably already the target audience to begin with. But it looked good, so I'm excited that we have different things coming out and they're diversifying and stuff like that. I might have cried during the Lilo and Stitch trailer. I'm not going to admit that. I did just admit that. I know what
You
I'm talking
did.
about.
I didn't want to sell you out there, but you did.
But I mean, as someone who grew up with Lilo and Stitch and now watching it with my child, that was kind of an emotional thing. But yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of really good movies. So I just wanted to highlight that, especially Megan 2 really is, I think, going to surprise me. So we will go ahead and put the links for those trailers down below. If the recap video is out at this point in time, we will drop the recap video from Talking Tapes. I know that we have one already out, but there should be another one coming. So until then, though, thank you so much, Brewster, for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love chatting with you.
So, of course, and you will probably see Brewster again in the future because, we're coworkers. We just
like this now.
yeah, we see each other's face a lot. We might as well just add extra hours and it's fine.
Right? Overtime.
So, but until next time, it's me, Cass, and I'm saying stay spooky and bye. And Brewster, you got to do the thing.
Stay cool, freaky frighteners.
All right, bye.